For Thursday, the 25th of January. I'm Stephen Ridgway. Chrome has got patches, so 17 vulnerabilities are being patched. So if you are using Chrome or other Chromium-based browsers, look for the updates ASAP. The latest version of Chrome for Mac is 121.0.6167.85, and that's for Mac OS and Linux. For Windows, it's .85 or .86. So it's only been a week since the last Chrome patch, which was a patch for a 0-day vulnerability. Exploit in the V8 JavaScript engine. So this is, I think, just bringing in line with some other bits and pieces that are out there. Of the 17 vulnerabilities, apparently 11 have been reported by external researchers. So good to see that the community is keeping on top of these things, and it is good to see that vendors are paying attention. So, following on from, or at least related to something we discussed yesterday, around APTs, hacking groups, targeting security personnel, so InfoSec personnel within organizations. Came across an article in Bleeping Computer this morning, where it appears that Hewlett Packard Enterprise has been the subject of an attack by APT29. Cozy Bear is another name for them. Midnight Blizzard or Nobelium, depending on whose naming scheme you want to go with. They're the lot that were famous for the SolarWinds supply chain attack. So, HPE looks like HPE was attacked in December, but the information is only just coming through. It may well actually, HPE were notified in December, but it looks like the attack may have been ongoing since May last year. So one of the things about this particular breach is that one of the groups that was being targeted it was the InfoSec team. So just in case you weren't sure whether the article yesterday was in the realms of reality or not, well, yep, it does look like it is. So if you are working in the InfoSec industry, if you are one of the InfoSec people in your organization, just be aware these attacks are ongoing at the moment and they are looking for you. A report from Security Affairs is stating that over 5,000 GitLab servers are vulnerable to zero-click account takeover attacks. There is a pretty wide swathe of versions that are vulnerable to this. The most critical vulnerability in this particular suite of vulnerabilities is CVE 2023-7028, which has got a CVSS score of 10, and it allows for an account takeover via password reset. So it can basically, the flaw can be exploited to hijack the account without user interaction. So there are patches available as far as I can tell, and there is there are vulnerabilities in GitLab's on version 16, so 16.1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7 all have vulnerable versions. So rather than read you a list of numbers, if you're using GitLab, just check that you are on patched and up-to-date version, because this is reasonably trivial exploit to vulnerability to exploit. They've also chucked in a couple of indicators of compromise, so there may be some things that you can search for in your SIEM or your security visibility tooling. So if you're using GitLab, have a look at this one and make sure you're keeping up to date. So also a trend that we've been talking about over the last few months of attackers focusing on critical national infrastructure. Well, there's an article in Security Week that talks about attacks on water companies. It does look like water is the target of the month. Certainly the flavour of the week or something. So Veolia, I never know quite how you pronounce that. Veolia in North America, who are they're one of the largest water companies in the States. So Veolia, you might know them in the UK because they're for being the people that do recycling for a fair number of councils. But they're a big multinational organization. I think they are US based. Anyway, they run a lot of water in the States. They have been quite significantly hit by this. But in the UK, Southern Water has been hit by ransomware. So it appears that the Black Basta ransomware group is claiming they have stolen 750 gigabytes worth of files, including personal information and corporate documents. So if you are in the UK and if you are a customer of Southern Water, take the time to have a quick look at any suspicious activity that may be associated with that. Also, bear in mind that if it might be worth looking to do things like change passwords, remembering if you have reused your password, to change the password for that password on all the accounts where you've used that password, because if you've no idea quite what's happened to it. Also, make sure you've got 2FA installed. I can't remember whether Southern Water supports 2FA or not. So it's worth having a look. If you can use 2FA, or MFA, do use MFA. And then finally from me this morning, a US judge has rejected NSO's attempt to have the lawsuit from Apple thrown out. So background to this: NSO are an Israeli-based, I think, group that creates spyware, at least supposed to be targeted for nation states. So they're supposed to be providing spyware to nation state governments for legitimate purposes. This notorious Pegasus software spyware, which has been comprehensively misused by nation state governments for all sorts of unpleasant and not legal actions. So Apple, however, are suing NSO because there is a breach of various, I think, laws and contracts that associated with this. Apple claims NSO violated computer fraud and other laws by infecting customers' iDevices with its surveillance software. Now, I suspect, that kind of makes sense if you think that, as we said earlier this week, if you accidentally discover that you can connect to a database, you can be prosecuted for all sorts of misuse. Well, actually, producing software with the intention of being surreptitiously installed on somebody's device in order to spy on them. Interesting how they could argue that that doesn't breach computer misuse type acts or computer fraud acts. I think the specific US law that this is being fought under is the US Computer Fraud and Abuse Act, CFFA, and California's unfair competition laws. So it'd be very interesting to see what happens with this. I personally, my view is, although I can see why nation states want to be able to have visibility of all sorts of things on all sorts of people, I am very much of the opinion that, based on history, governments that take too much interest in the minutiae of their citizens' lives are rarely up to any good. So, there are some very, very well-known 20th century examples of where surveillance has been used in order to oppress, even quite, even very, otherwise you would have expected to be kind of quite modern and liberal governments. Anyway, look, so you don't have to agree with me on this, but I don't think that your government should be spying on you. I don't think they have necessarily got the best interests of most people at heart in that respect. They may have in other respects. Yeah, I'm kind of hoping that Apple wins this case. Whilst I admire NSO's ability to write malicious software, I'm not sure that we should be encouraging it. Anyway, there we go. Personal opinion yet again. So enough from me for now. I hope you have a good Thursday, and I'll speak to you all